Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's November 2nd. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And once again, it looks like we're selling off here. Today was an FOMC day, and so you want to be flat before noon, around about between 12 and 12:15. Usually I'd say noon because sometimes the market gets really flat going into that, and you could get stuck in a trade even if you take one around lunchtime. And we really went into a really tight range almost 2 hours before. We'll look at it in a little bit and we'll go from there, but you'll see what I'm talking about. But it looks like we're selling off. We went right through the midline. As you can see right here, we went right through this midline, closed below it. We did find support down around. Uh, Actually, I should have said the EMA here. We went right through the EMA, but we did find support at the midline of the larger blue channel. Now, I would suspect we could get a little bounce there, but I'm thinking we're going lower. The market didn't like another 3/4 point interest rate hike today, so interest rates are going up again. And the market rallied off of that at first, and then suddenly turned and traded straight down. And you can see how bearish and negative this day was. And every time we have one of these, it leads into another sell-off. It seems like so. I'm guessing we're probably going lower now. We could bounce again, but I think we're going lower. It's obvious this channel. It looks like it's played out. This could be. I mean, you could argue we had a close outside here. We definitely had one here. We had a new high as well in one all in the same bar. So we could go lower here. Um, I just don't think this bear market's over. Even if we go up to the upper side of the trend line, I don't think this bear market's over yet. There's just too much negativity hanging in the air as far as the economy here in the U.S. So unless something really changes quickly, I think we've got more room to the downside here. So um, anyway, let's flip over to the intraday chart. You can see how bearish it looks, and so I mean we're probably I mean we're definitely not overbought anymore. So it won't be long. We'll be oversold again. But you can see we've been getting way oversold quite a bit here. So let's flip over to the chart, go through today's trades, and let's just take a look at that chart. Okay, here's our intraday chart, and you can see this blue block here. This was about an hour before. This is about 12 o'clock, and you want to be 12. I would say be flat by 12. Um, the rate comes out at 1, so you want to be flat before that. And you can see how not much price action occurred there. Um, so you could eat, and a lot of times it just works. But you can see this whole big morning how we were in this real tight range, and that's probably because of this rate. We did sell off a little early, um, took that back, and just not much happened into the 1 o'clock rate. And then and you can see when we shot up there, I believe that's 1 o'clock right there. Yeah, that's right at 1 o'clock. You can see how prices reacted, and then suddenly we rallied real strongly. Then suddenly, boom, the bottom falls out of it. We turn and just start working lower, and this larger blue two-tier channel. So don't take anything in here. I would say always wait till at least 115, but wait till the market really settles down. I drew it to about 115. There really wasn't another trade till almost 130 anyway. But I think we've kind of settled down here. I don't know. It's still a little. I mean, right in here it's looking okay, and then it kind of gets a little uh, crazy again. But generally, it usually takes these news items back really quickly. And notice how quickly we took it back, then tried to go higher, and then went lower, lower, and closed way down here on the lows of the day. So ends up very bearish day. Um, this whole move off the news was a larger range than the earlier part of the trading day almost. So, but let's zoom in, go through the trades, and we'll wrap today up. There were a few this morning, but not too much this afternoon. There's more green ones, but a lot of those green ones you could argue for them to be red. So depending on your skill level. But we'll talk about those when we get to them. So I think this was right at 7. I think 7 o'clock we're working up here. Back we turn down right here. Notice you got a new low, first entry, and so this is a second entry. This bar is close to being bearish enough, but I think I would wait. And then you get this next bar, and it's a really large bar, but you want to go short there on that second entry if it breaks below that. Technically, the second entry is already triggered, so maybe even let it break lower here and drop a limit order back in a couple of ticks. Just give yourself a little more room, although there's plenty of room to this low. And of course, it's a quick, easy move. And then we're working up first entry, and there's another second entry. Now, I made this one green. You'll probably say, why is that green? But if you notice, the signal bar is an inside bar, but it's still a very bearish bar right at the trend line on a second entry. So generally, I tell you to be careful with inside bars and skip them. But in this case, with it being confirming that trend line and being right off of it, and being so bearish, I say take that trade. So I marked it green. You know, if you're a skilled trader and you know what's going on there and you're reading the chart, you can read the chart well, take that trade. If not, maybe you reconsider it. I mean, I thought hard about it in real time, so I felt like it needed to be at least marked green. So, and then we start again here. We get a first entry, second entry, but that signal bar is a little iffy. But then we come back a third. We come back a third time right here. Notice a new high, first entry, second entry. So if it breaks lower, that's a failure. Now, I say this all the time, and then somebody will turn right around that's a new trader and ask me about failures and why a failure failed. Look, if you take a failure and it doesn't work, understand it's not a failure. So you don't even have to send me an email to ask me, because that's what I'm going to tell you. It's not a failure. But what I really want to tell people is if you're new at this, don't worry about failures, because they're very advanced. There's a reason I don't teach them early to begin with. But they are a very powerful pattern that once you have a clear understanding, once you really understand price action, eventually you'll learn them and be able to trade them. But you need to let it come organically as you get really good at the basics. So if you're new to this, don't worry about failures, because you're just going to trip yourself up. And please don't email me about them, because if you take a trade that you think is a failure and it doesn't work, then it wasn't a failure. It's pretty simple. You're wrong on your read. They don't work the same as second entries. So people think, well, they're just like a second entry except it fails. No, that's not the case. That's what they consist of, but that's not the case. You got to understand the context of the chart and what's going on, and you're only certain situations you want to trade them. So, and there's a difference between a failure and a reversal. So make sure you understand that. And so just forget about these until you're a very skilled trader, and then you won't even have to ask me, and I won't even have to tell you, because you will learn them organically, and they'll come to you through experience and by trading and understanding all the rest of the stuff, and you won't even have to ask me. So hope that's clear for you. But notice the new swing high here, and you get a first entry, second entry, it fails. So if it breaks below, let me zoom in here a little more. It's kind of small, I'm sorry. So if it breaks below that bar, go with it. Unfortunately, this one's only good for a quick scalp, and it comes back and gets the runner most likely. Depending on how you played it, you might could have still got a runner out of that. Drops down, you get another second entry, but the signal bar is no good. And notice how you get that gap right there, right at the trend line. Tells you my trend line's accurate. I see that a lot. I talk about that a lot lately. It ends up, I think, ticking higher a little later. Yeah, you can see. But when it closes and opens like that, and you can clearly see the gap over there, you know your trend line's in the right place. But you get a close outside. Looks like we're going to try to go lower. I don't see any trade you can take lower, and then it comes back again to test this high, and it tests it one more time. So right here you get a triple test, but that's also a second entry short. Notice that new swing low, it's lower than that one right there. So first entry, and then it breaks higher and turns back down. So that's a second entry. You could trade that on the engulfing bar. I'd probably wait for this to close. Look how bearish it is, so go short. We're looking for prices to make a new low. You got plenty of room there for the new low. And this thing makes two quick swings down, and it continues to kind of chop lower here. But it's mostly sideways. I don't see much I like in here at all until maybe right here when you get a second entry short. And again, inside a range, you're not really looking for a second entry, but it's a lower high, very bearish bar. We've been working from the highs to the lows the last couple of swings. So you're expecting prices to come down here, and you got plenty of room. And you've also got this blue channel, which you're expecting prices to make a new low. And that's probably why we get outside the channel here, is prices make a new low. And then you find that the support turned into resistance. But again, I don't really see anything that would, this is just all, basically what you've got here is just another little tight channel. And really it's more like this right here. So you just have another tight channel that forms below the regular channel because this support turns into resistance. But I don't see anything there you can trade. You got to be careful going short because it's probably going to be a failed breakout, and you got to be careful going long because you're inside this resistance. So the only one I might have traded here was this one, but it's such a big bar and you got more resistance all the way across here. So I think that's about a measured move if you put it on there, and you can see that. So I think that's too risky. But notice what happens. You got a new low here and you try to go short once, you try to go short twice, and it does confirm that trend line, and if it breaks above there, there's a failure, and boom, look at it go up to the top. Now this is a reversal too. But this is the place you're looking for a reversal because we traded down to the range. Now we want prices to reverse and go back to the high. So this is a place you'd look for a reversal. This is not just a failed second entry short. This is a reversal pattern. So boom, quick move all the way to the top, and then we're going to probably come back to the lows again. Same thing. Unfortunately, I don't see anything. This looks a little congested here. It does confirm the trend line. We're probably coming to the lows, but I just don't think you want to take that. That bar's, it's only 12 ticks. I mean, that's pretty big for today, but I think I'd skip that trade. And then, of course, we're bouncing down here. And again, this one's tempting, but we're not getting rejection here, just like we kind of did up here. There's no rejection. So again, I would wait and then suddenly get another reversal pattern. Notice the new low, first entry, second entry. So if it breaks above there, it also confirms that trend line. So there's another one. And we run up to the top, make a new high, try to go higher once, shoot through, pull back. There's another failure that's a reversal pattern. And look at that signal bar. I don't think I would trade it on the engulfing bar, but when it closes like that, if you've got enough room to get out from here, take that trade. And this thing just keeps going. This is a fairly strong trend right here, but we're getting very close to noon, so I don't think I would take anything else down here. This one's tempting, and the only reason you could take that trade is if you understand when you start to see these all these little dojis and stems, and it just keeps trending down in a real tight channel like that. That's a real strong move. Doesn't look like it, but it is. And so anything that really gives you a good signal bar off the trend line, you almost could take. You could take that one, you could take that one, and then all of a sudden it reverses. So if you understand that, you could take any of those trades. You have to realize that they're a little bit aggressive, but if you understand what's going on, they'll almost always give you a scalp. You could enter on. This was an engulfing bar, so I would wait for this one, and I don't think I'd take an engulfing bar right there. If you took that one first before it became an engulfing bar and it broke lower, I don't remember where it broke, so if it broke lower first and turned up, then your stop would go up here until this closed, and once this closed, you move your stop down here one tick above the bar you entered on. Now we bounce. You can't go long yet. And that takes you into the 12 o'clock where you got to just sit tight, and then there's all your news items. And if you look here, you can see there's a spike in channel on the news. And you get a close outside, and it finally moves to a new high, and then it trends lower. You get a little trend working down. I didn't draw these, but they're there. You got that trend, close outside, new low, and then it's trending up. And notice we bottomed here. You move up, you get a first entry, you push through this EMA, you pull back, you get a second entry, and there's another failure at a reversal type area because this is all played out. Now we're probably going to go up. I don't see anything else here I really like. And you can see we still got a little craziness going on here, and I just don't see anything that really looks tempting to me here that's worth trading. And there's no way to get short up here, and the bottom just falls out. You might have went short here when it pushes back up to the trend line right there. But the reason would be, notice the new high, and you're coming down, you get a first entry, then you're coming down, and you get a second entry, and it fails right there, right at the key entry point, gives you a real bearish bar. Maybe you take that trade. I mean, that's a little different type of a reversal, but it's still, by the counts, it's a failed second entry, and it's a place you're looking for it to reverse. But we've moved a long way already, so I think you're basically just can trade that as a failure, and it's with the trend. So it's definitely advanced, and it's probably advanced for even an advanced trade. So I don't highly recommend that at all. But prices drop on down, bounce, and notice how they don't. I mean, of course, you probably wouldn't have known this was not the low of the trend line. I actually think I did draw it down here to begin with, but it turns out that's not quite the low side. It's on down here. But regardless, we bounce, and you don't get a reversal here. But anyway, you got such a strong trend, you would still expect this to turn down real quickly and give you a run to test a new low. But it doesn't. It just ends up trending all the way up again. So this one was kind of throws you here a little bit, but I just don't see anything that really, I mean, there's no reversal here or failure that sets up as a trap, but it runs all the way back up here, and notice what happens. You try to go higher once, twice, three times, so you get a triple test there, big bearish bar, plenty of room back to the EMA. We've already had a break here and a move to a new high. It's possible there's a trend line here, so I like going short there. There's a lower high here, but this not quite a place you could go short yet. And then, of course, it does turn up here. So when it turns down, you could maybe look at that as a failure. But the problem is it's just like a little single tick there. It's still a break higher, still a couple of legs down with a failed second entry. But that just doesn't look like a reversal to me. And so I don't, and that's a fairly bullish bar. So I don't, and this starts out as an inside bar when it's going to break lower. So I think you got to wait, and then of course it drops down. It gives you a repeat pattern of this other one. I marked this one green, but if you realize it's a repeat pattern and right off the key entry point again, big bearish bar, just go short again. And you could almost argue the same thing here, but it doesn't quite get back to the trend line. I mean, I've already got it as close as I could get right there. I mean, you could probably move that out a little bit, but that just gives you a bigger gap. So, and that looks a little sideways. It's not congestion really, but it looks a little sideways, and off it goes. There's another one of those real strong. This is probably more of a spiking channel here. So it's going to look more like that. And again, that's a real strong trend. So the problem here is if you do take these bearish ones, they're already to the other side. Maybe you might take that one. And that's probably about the only one until you get to break a couple legs up and move to a new low. And again, there's no entry there. And then you run back to the high, and you got this channel working up. You get a little bit of an overshoot, and then you just turn down right off the key entry point. But this is technically your signal bar, and so hopefully you get a lower high here, but it never really comes. I mean, you can't go short. You do get a lower high right here, but you can't go short right in that. That's just too dangerous. You want to get a little breakout that fails to the top side, or a breakout pullback or something. But just don't go short right into that low where it bounced how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times already. So, of course, it runs up, tries to go lower, gives you a second entry here. This one is tempting to go long, but we've already got a break of this in a new high, so you could get trapped here. And so I just think you got to sit tight, and I think that's why this goes sideways here, because people are just like, I don't know where we're going. Let's just wait it out and see. We are going sideways here, and you get a failed breakout a little ways from the EMA. You could treat that like a range trade and trade it back to the other side. It's a lot of times you want to wait on a lower high on that. So for that reason, I made it green, because a lot of times it'll turn down and then run up one more leg, and that's what happened here. But it came back here before it did go higher. So there's some reasons to take that trade, but I marked it green. And then of course we get a little breakout and a breakout pullback and run all the way back up, and we actually confirmed this trend line here, but that all looks like one move back. So you really need an extra confirmation to know for sure, and you get that right there. So maybe you take that trade if you see the bigger blue channel here, that far away from the EMA. Lower high here, failed second entry long, but it's on the wrong side. And then we try to go. This actually looks like a little double move back, but it confirms that trend line. It gives you a big bearish bar. I marked it green. I don't think you can mark that red. It's somewhat of a trap and a lower high. When we just came off the high here, you got to figure we're going lower here, down to the other side. And here, once again, I marked every bearish bar that came back to the trend line until we got outside of it here. I didn't mark any of these, but you can see they still would have worked. And that took us into 230. So I don't think you want to take anything else out of here. There it is. Big two-tiered bearish bar late this afternoon. So maybe the sell-off's back. We'll have to see. Just not sure at this point, but it looks like we're going lower to me. Just looking at the daily chart. The economy is not getting any better. Interest rates are still going higher. Midterms are in a week. Gas is probably going to skyrocket after that. I don't know. It's just economically things are not looking good for us right now. So we'll see what happens going forward. But I think we're still going lower overall in the market. We may not be to the point where the sell-off's going to accelerate again yet, but it's going to happen, in my opinion, at some point very soon. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow, and believe it or not, tomorrow we wrap up another week. Seems like Monday was just yesterday, but the time is flying. I'm just so busy with so many things going on. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.